Hey guys, welcome to Coding Shorting with NJ. In this playlist about Redis, so far we have learned how to install Redis on Windows and access it through PHP. We have also learned how can we use Redis as a caching system. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how can we use Redis as a rate limiter to our resources. Basically, we want to have a mechanism in place through which we can control users or third-party APIs access to our critical resources. The reasons for doing this are many. For example, some of the reasons can be security concerns. We want to protect our resources, such as database, from attacks like denial of service. In this attack, basically the resource is bombarded with so many requests at a time that our resource gives up and it doesn't serve any customers anymore. So this is the basic idea behind denial of service. The other reason for limiting the access to our resources could be metering and billing. Based on the number of requests certain clients has made, we want to charge him differently. So in this tutorial, we are going to see how can we use Redis to implement that rate implementing functionality in our system. But before we do that, let me give you a demo of what we are going to achieve today. This is the front end of our demo. Please ignore the hideousness because I haven't used any styling. As you can see, we can only see one button over here. So if I click on this make request, I can see some data being displayed over here. When I click on this make request button for the first time, a request is being sent to the server. The first thing that server will do, it will try to uniquely identify the client based on the IP address from which this request has been made. Once the server gets the IP address, it will check the Redis database for any key matching that IP address. If there is no key found in the Redis database, that means this particular client has made the very first request to the server. And according to the logic that is implemented in this demo, any unique client can make 5 requests in 20 seconds. After those 5 requests, you cannot make another request until you run out of those 20 seconds. So if you make first 5 requests within those allotted 20 seconds, you will get the data and you can display over here. But if you make 6th or 7th or any other request within those 20 seconds time frame, you will not receive this data. Instead, you will be informed that you have run out of allotted time and you have to wait this number of seconds until your next 20-second slot starts. So let me click on this. I'm clicking. So now as you can see, I got a message, you have used up all your allotted quota. Try again after 15 seconds. Now it says try again after 8 seconds. After 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, 0, and now I can get the data back again. So this is the idea behind rate limiting access to your critical resources. And today we are going to learn how can we use Redis to act as a rate limiter for our critical resources. So let's start coding shorting. We are in our empty project folder. So let's create first front end folder. And within this folder, let's create index.html. This index.html doesn't have anything except for 2 divs and 1 button. So let me change the title first. Let's start with heading. Now let's create a div named container. And this container have only 1 button. Then in the next div, we don't have anything in the next div because we are going to fill in the contents received from the server in this second div. So let's include a script file. That's it. We are done with HTML file. Now let's create this script file. In this script file, we need a reference to the button as well as a reference to the div in which we want to display the results. Now let's attach an event listener to the button. And within this event listener, we are going to make a fetch request to our backend. Remember that we need to create this server.php file, and we also need to create this backend folder as well. So far we have none. If you intend to use different folder name, you have to make sure you put the same folder name and file name over there as well. Also, you have to make sure that if you are using different port on which you want your server to listen to, then you have to make sure that this address contains that port number. Now usually there is a second parameter with the fetch request, in which we define all the configuration with which we want to set this HTTP request with. But since we don't have any data to send along with this fetch request, and we want to send this request as a GET request, which is default HTTP method. So if you haven't declared any HTTP method, then by default GET method is used. Therefore there isn't any mandatory information that we need to define with this fetch parameter. Therefore I am skipping the second parameter, which also tells us that this second parameter is basically optional. Okay, once we get a response from the fetch, we get it as a promise. Therefore we have to use then block, and we will receive this response, as a JSON. So basically we want to extract only the exact response that has been sent, and we want to eliminate all the information that comes with HTTP response. Therefore we have to call JSON method on our response object. Now this JSON method again returns us another promise. Therefore we have to use another then block, and this time we have the actual data we are interested in. Now over here we have to define the logic through which the data that we have received is going to be displayed in the browser. But for the time being we are only using the console statement just to make sure that we are receiving the data, and then we will modify this part. There is another reason for not displaying the data straight away in the browser, and that reason is going to be clear once we have defined our server logic and we have seen how the server is sending different types of responses, and based on those responses we will define the logic how to display each response in the browser. Therefore for the time being I have just put the console log. Now let's go and work on our backend. So we need another folder, and within this folder I need two files. In one I'm going to make the database connection, and in another I'm going to define the main logic for the server. Let's work with database connectivity part first. Let me define all the variables that are needed to make a connection with the database. So this port 3306 is the port on which my database server is listening. This is the default port on which MySQL server listens. If you have changed your port on which your database listens, then make sure you put that port number over here. Username and password are root for my database. You have to put the values that you have set for your username and password on your database. And the specific database with which we are going to interact with is called Sakila. This is a default database which comes with MySQL 8. I haven't defined this database. It's already there, and it has many tables as well along with the data. You can use any database that you currently have, because our business logic is not dependent on specific database. So any database will do. Now let's make the connection. I'm using MySQLi for database connectivity. This MySQLi needs all four parameters that I have defined over there. Now we have to make sure if we have successfully made this connection or not. Therefore, if there is any connect error number, then display the exact error and terminate the program. If that is not the case, that means we have a connection in this connection variable. Now let's work on the server.php file. The first thing that we need to do is that we have to pull in the code defined in the db.php file. So starting from the current folder, we have a file named db.php. Include that file's code in this program as well. Now next, download a package, and this package is called Redis. Using this package, our PHP is going to be able to communicate with the Redis database. And since this is the fourth tutorial in this playlist, so I don't need to remind you that we already have Redis installed on our system. If you haven't watched that videos and you don't know how to make PHP, Windows and Redis work together, kindly go and watch my previous videos. At least the first one where we are doing the installation. Anyways, let's start our package. Composer require Redis/Redis. Okay, now our package is installed, and as you can see there is a folder named vendor and 2 composer files. Now we need to pull in the autoload in the vendor folder so that anything related to Redis is going to be automatically grabbed in our program. Since the vendor folder is not in the backend folder, rather it's on the same level on which our backend folder is. So we have to use the path starting from the current folder, go one hierarchy up, and there we have a folder named vendor. Within that folder we have a file named autoload.php. Now let's create an object of type Redis client so that we can interact with Redis database. So now this variable Redis client represents our connection with the Redis database. If we have to send any query to the Redis database, we have to use this variable. I'm defining 2 more variables over here. Their purpose is going to be known later on in this program. For the time being, let's just define them so that we know that they are there. So we have a variable named TTL, and then we have another variable named array which represents an empty array. So currently both variables are empty. Now before we define any further logic, we have to make sure that we are executing this logic only if we have received any request from the browser, and that request is of type HTTP GET request. Now anything that we define within those curly brackets is going to be executed only if this PHP file has received a HTTP GET request. Now the first step in defining the rate limiter logic is, first of all, we have to uniquely identify each request, like who this request has come from. Is it a new client, or if that client has already made request within certain time frame. So for that we have to identify each client, and the simplest way is to identify a client based on its IP address. So when any HTTP request comes to the server, one of the information that is included with that request is the IP address from where this request originated. So we have to extract that address from the HTTP request and store it in a local variable. So I'm using a variable named IP to store the IP address of the client. And we can get that address from server global variable and its array element named remote address. Now this is going to give us the IP address which made this request. We are storing this IP address in a variable named IP. Now we have to check the Redis database to figure out if this is a new client or this client has already made a request. Since we are going to interact with the Redis database, therefore we have to use Redis client variable. And the specific method or a command that we are going to use is called incur. And this incur takes the key which we are trying to search in the database. So what this incur command is going to do, it's going to search the Redis database for any key which is provided over here. If there does exist a key with this specific name in the Redis database, its value is going to be returned. If no such key exists, then this incur command is going to create a key value pair in this Redis database with this value as the key, and it's going to assign 1 as its value. As you can guess from the word incur, it's a short for increase, so obviously it has something to do with numeric values. So if no key exists, then this incur is going to create a key and assign value 1 to it and store it in the Redis database. However, if there is any key, then this command is going to increment the value and return that value. So in any case, a value is returned, therefore we need to store it in a variable. So we are going to name it request count. because the value of this IP key is going to tell us how many requests have already been performed by this client or requested by this particular client. Now so far we have only looked in the Redis database for a specific key. Next we have to make sure that if this is the first time this client has ever communicated with us, then we have to define a time window within which the client can request data from the MySQL database the specified number of times. That means we have to start our counter, and we define this counter by specifying an expiry date on this Redis key. Once the expiry is reached, the key automatically gets deleted from the Redis. We want to set this expiry only if this is the first ever request by the client. Therefore, we have to check first if request count equals 1. In that case, set the expiry by calling the expire method on the key IP. I also need to provide the second parameter. The first one is the key. Now the second parameter is going to specify the time frame. So I want it to be, let's say, 20 seconds. Remember, this if statement is only going to be executed if it is the very first request from the client. If that is not the case, that means if the client has already made at least one request previously and the time window had already started, in that case, the second condition that we have to check is that if we are within the allowed number of requests or not. So if request count is less than 6, that means we are only allowing 5 requests per 20 seconds. So within 20-second time window, each client can make just 5 requests. If request count is less than 6, then following happens. Otherwise, this else part is going to get executed, and within this else part, we will simply inform the client that you have already used your allotted quota and you have to wait the remaining number of seconds before your 20 seconds have passed and new 20 seconds have been assigned to you. So to do that, first of all, we have to figure out how much time has left to expire those 20 seconds. And for that, the Redis command that we can use is TTL. This TTL means time to live, and we have to provide the key for which we want to figure out the time to live. So we want to figure out how much time this key has to live. After that, this key is going to expire. And once a key is expired, its record is erased from the Redis database. So this is going to return us the number of seconds left before this key expires. And we want to store it in the variable TTL that we defined previously over here. Now this variable TTL contains the number of seconds left before this 20-second window expires, and then the same client can make new requests to the MySQL database. But over here we have to inform the client that you have used up your current quota and you have to wait this number of seconds until your next quota starts. So we'll say echo and we are sending JSON response. So I'm creating a variable with only one value, status, and its message is, or its value is, you have used up your allotted quota. Try again after TTL seconds. So I'm using string interpolation over here, and you can only use string interpolation if the quotations that you have chosen is double quotations. You cannot use a string interpolation with single quotations. In this part, we have defined what happens if we have made more than 6 requests within 20 seconds to access MySQL database. But now in this if portion, we have to define the logic to actually access the database if we are making requests to access MySQL database within the 20-second time frame and we haven't yet made more than 5 such requests. So now over here, we can actually execute a query on the MySQL database. We are using connection variable that we defined in the db.php file. And we are going to execute a query, and the query is select everything from a table named actor, which is available in the database Sakila. So if you are using another database and you don't have this table, obviously you can use different table. It doesn't matter. Let me fix this. This query is going to return us some result. So we are going to store it in the result variable. The next step is we have to make certain if this query has actually returned any data. For that we are going to say if this num rows has value anything but 0, then this if is going to return us true, and in that case we are going to access one row at a time as an associative array. And we have to keep pushing on that row in our empty array that we have defined over here, this one. So we have to call a method called array push, and the first parameter is going to be the array to which you want to push the data. So we have given that variable named array as well, and the data that we want to push is second parameter. Once we have pushed all the data in our array variable, now we can send that data back to the client. So we can say echo JSON encode, and let's pass in the array data, array variable, and exit the program. However, if this num rows returns false, in that case, even though we successfully connected with the database, but probably there was no data found, so in that case, we want to send a different message to the client, which is going to be similar to this one, but the message is going to be different. So let's change the status value, and let's say no data found, and at that point we want to exit again as well. We don't need to put new keyword over here. Okay, we have defined all the logic for the backend. Now before we test this out in the browser, if you notice, we are sending two different responses back to the client depending on whether the client is making the request within the allotted time frame and within the allotted quota. That is the number of requests the client can make within those 20 seconds. So let me start the server. Okay, so before I click on this button, let me open the developers tool, because if we do get data, it's going to be displayed in the console. So let's it says unexpected token A in JSON at position 0. So usually it has something to do with data being not properly received from the server. So let's go and first check if it has anything to do with the server. Okay, it says access denied for user at localhost. Undefined variable root, okay, on line 8. So let's go to db.php. Okay, so over here I'm using a variable root, but I have given the name user over here. So that's why it says undefined variable, so I'm going to change it to user. Okay, now let's go and give it another try. Make request. Now I have received data. So it's an array of array, and each row basically consists of an actor ID, first name, last name. Actor ID, first name, last name. So now let's go and work on how can we display this data in the browser rather than in the console. Let's go to script.js. Over here, let me comment this out. Now since this data is going to consist of an array of rows from the database or just an array with one value named status and its value, so we have to check what kind of data we have actually received. So if data has an element called status, in that case we have to simply replace the inner text of this reply div with the value of this status array element. So reply dot inner HTML is going to be data.status. If there is no status element present, that means we have actually got the data from the database, and each row has actor ID, first name and last name. So what we are going to do, first of all, we are going to erase whatever this reply div currently has. Then we are going to create different paragraphs. Each paragraph is going to represent one row, and we are going to keep on appending those paragraph elements to the reply div. So else, the first thing that we have to do is make sure that, so we are going to say reply dot replace children with empty string. So we are doing this because within the 20-second time frame, we are allowed to make 5 requests to the database and get the data and display in the reply div. So if we simply keep on appending the data that we receive, the new data that we get is going to be appended to what is previously displayed. And we don't want that to happen. We simply want to display the current data that we have just received. Now we know that this data is going to contain an array of objects. So we can use for each. And within the for each callback, let's create a paragraph element. And as its inner text, inner HTML actually, let's use backtick. Now define the contents for this paragraph. So we want actor ID, then some space, then the actor's first name, again some space, then the actor's last name. So we have used this backtick so that we can use a string interpolation. So the first thing that we want to display is actor ID. So we'll say row.actorID. Then we need some space, and we want the space equivalent to 2 tabs put between each of the columns. So ampersand EMSP semicolon represents 1 tab space. We need 2, so let me copy, paste. Now another string interpolation, this time row.firstName, then again 2 tab spaces. Now another string interpolation and row.lastName. Okay. Now the inner HTML contents for this paragraph have been created. Now let's append that paragraph to our reply div. So reply.append child and pass this paragraph element. That's it. We are done. Now hopefully we will be able to see all the data in the browser rather than in the console tab. Let's go and give it a try. Refresh. Okay, good. Keep on making requests. So obviously there is something wrong. We are not able to get the message that we have run out of our quota. So let's go and check our backend logic, what mistake we have made there. Okay, the error is that this is the variable in which we are storing the current value of this key IP. But over here we are using a different variable with small c. So this variable is not the same as this variable. Therefore, since the value of this variable with small c was never set, so it was never less than 6. So it was always true. Now since we have rectified the error, I hope this will work properly. Now let's go and check. Refresh. Make request. Another. You have used up your allotted quota. Try again after 15 seconds. Let's make another request. Now it says try again after 10 seconds. Another one. 20 seconds. 4 seconds. Try again after 3 seconds. Try again after 1 second. And now we have got the data back again. So this is how we use Redis as a rate limiter to our critical resources. This is the most simplest way to implement a rate limiter. In the upcoming videos, we will improve this rate limiter. The another thing that we will try out in the upcoming videos is that we will also bring in Redis as a caching system as well. So far, each time the client is making a request within the allotted time and allotted quota, the user has to get data from the database. So database is accessed 5 times. But if we use Redis as a caching system as well, then the first time the user makes the request to the database, that response is also cached in the Redis, and for subsequent requests, the data cached in the Redis could be returned to the user. So most probably our next video will be integrating Redis in this program as a caching system. Until then, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share my videos. Thank you so much.